Hi, year 11s and 12s. This is just a small little PowerPoint, only goes through 2 slides. It's based on cell theory. This aligns with the content of cellular biology of the SL strand. So first off, I think that, like I said, this is a very small video, just talking about cell theory and some exceptions to cell theory. First off, we need to know that cell theory, basically it's a whole lot of statements that we use to apply to cells that we discover or cells that are undiscovered, etc. There's 3 fundamentals of cell theory that you need to know. The first is that all living things are composed of cells or cell products. The second fundamental part of cell theory is that the cell is the smallest unit of life. And third is that cells only arise from pre-existing cells. So basically, cell division is the only way we create new cells. A cell can't just be created from nothing and it's there. Cells have to be created from other pre-existing cells through cell division. So meiosis, mitosis. Or binary fission in terms of prokaryotic cells. Now, the other important thing to say is we say that cell theory states that, and this applies to all cells, but there are some exceptions to some of these statements, and that's just always the way when we have a theory or a rule. There generally is some small exceptions. So certain types of cells that don't quite line up with cell theory are the first cells that we're going to talk about that don't line up with cell theory. What are striated muscle fibers? Well, striated muscle fibers are created from muscle cells. Muscle cells combine to create these fibers, and those fibers can then be very long, rather than 300 millimeters. Now, that's very long for cells. Because of this, they have multiple nuclei, being surrounded by a single continuous plasma membrane. So we've got multiple nuclei in one single plasma membrane, or cell membrane. The idea that this argues within cell theory is that the cells always function as autonomous units. So they're not functioning as autonomous units. In this case, they're combining, working together. So the next type of cell that we're going to be looking at, that we're talking about in terms of not lining up with cell theory, is aseptate fungal hyphase. So when we're talking about fungi and fungal cells, all fungi have structures that are called hyphae. These are separated into cells by internal walls called septa. Some fungi are not partitioned by septa, and hence they have a continuous cytoplasm along the length of the entire hyphae. This challenges the idea that living structures have cellular partitions. So, in the terms of the hyphae, they're all kind of just working as one. And last cells that we're going to be looking at that have exceptions to cell theory is the giant algae. The giant algae, these are types of unicellular algae that can grow very large. Sometimes there's certain species that can grow up to longer than 7 centimeters in length. And this challenges the idea that larger organisms are always made up of many microscopic cells, or the fact that even that cells have to be microscopic. So when we're doing IB standards, basically what you need to know is what is the cell theory, and you've got 3 examples that are exceptions to that cell theory.